You're essentially claiming that Peru defaulted on sovereign debt, and that would ban it from joining the OECD. Explain to us a little bit what the problem is here, because many of our viewers don't know what the issue is.
Right. Back in the 1960s and 70s, the Peruvian government at the time, the military government, expropriated 23 million acres of land, of agricultural land, which is, equivalent to the state of Indiana. And because of the expropriation, they issued bonds, okay, to those who had been expropriated. Unfortunately, the government has, never paid those bonds, and 20, 30, 40 years later, the bondholders are still asking for those bonds to be paid, and they haven't.
So how much money are we talking about, and does Peru have the wherewithal to pay it out?
Well, we're talking about, at most, about $5 billion, $6 billion, which is 2 percentage points of GDP. Now, if you think about this, the debt to GDP ratio of Peru is only 24.7%, which is, very, very little in comparison to other countries of the same size and the same wealth, which is between 40 and 60% debt to GDP ratio. So this would only add a couple of percentage points to that ratio. Every year, Peru, when it comes to the capital markets, it issues around that amount without any trouble whatsoever.
We actually have that chart, Peru's debt as a percentage of GDP, and you can see it's obviously low. Very low,
yes.
The question here, though, is for many, can the current government be held accountable for a decision that was made during the military dictatorship?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good question. In 2001, the Constitutional Tribunal said very clearly that these bonds were good, they needed to be paid, and that they represented an imminent responsibility of the Peruvian state, not a government, the Peruvian state as such. So definitely any government, of Peru must pay this debt.
The thing is, there's hedge funds involved as well. So Grameen, for example, owns a chunk of debt. Is this muddying the picture for the Peruvians who hold the bonds?
80% of the debt is in the hands of the Peruvian families. So this is clearly an issue between the Peruvian government and bondholders in general. The fact that there are foreigners involved, should be of no concern to us, to be honest.
Talking about the Peruvian government, President Pedro Pablo Kuczynski right now facing an impeachment vote. Given the uncertainty, wouldn't this sideline your issue?
Well, perhaps it might, sidetrack the attention of it, but the reality is that the Peruvian state, as such, has set its sights on becoming a member of the OECD by the year 2021, irrespective of which government pursues that. And it is very clear that Peru cannot become a part of the OECD if it doesn't demonstrate that it shares the values of the OECD, which is respect for the rule of law, respect for private property, etc. And so long as this issue of the land bonds is not solved, there's no way Peru can become a member of the OECD.
Are you holding any conversations with parts of your government who are on your side, if not of the perhaps new president coming into the office?
Well, yes. We've been talking to, there are Congress people, there are different members of society that realize that this is an issue that has been, out in the open for far too long, and that it needs to be solved. Hopefully, the new administration, if it comes to that on Thursday, will realize that there is a correlation now between, becoming a member of the OECD and also settling this debt.
Is this the only form of retribution you have to target a membership of an organization like that?
For 40 years, Peruvian bondholders have been, going to the courts, going to the press, knocking on the doors, etc. In 2001, when the Constitutional Tribunal, ruled that these bonds were good and they should be paid, the executive branch ignored it. This is why in 2013 they went back to the Constitutional Tribunal and asked for a reminder, and that's when actually a horrible case of fraud, occurred.